So I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I am a big fan of a lot of the shows that you've been in. I saw you in Titanic this past summer, so
Oh, wow. That's
you have a
awesome.
great show. To start off, can you please introduce yourself for those who may not know who you are?
Yeah, of course. My name is Elaine Watson. I am an actress in the Chicago area, just recently the Chicago area. Originally, I did a lot of work in Kansas City as well.
That's awesome. And so before we jump into more of your recent projects and whatnot, what got you into theater and what kind of gave you the bug of theater?
Yeah, so I started by only singing to be real. I when I was younger I had a lot of really bad stage fright. And I somebody heard me singing in passing once and was like, "You have to start singing." So then I was like, "Okay, maybe choir is my thing." And then I had a friend who now is actually my best friend reached out to me in middle school and was like, "Please come audition for the show. We don't have enough people auditioning." And that was my first musical was in seventh grade. I was 12, and I really just never looked back from there. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And so, who are some of your biggest inspirations as a performer?
As a performer, I would definitely say one of my top inspirations is Audra McDonald. I know it's a very obvious answer, but I truly think that she's such a force and has done a lot of the grunt work, like stepping outside of the box and making a name for herself. And she just is this sweet soul and has been to be her when I grow up.
Yeah, for sure. And her performances are like amazing. Like her voice is phenomenal. Like
She's incredible. My goodness.
yeah, for sure. And so in 2023 you joined the Jagged Little Pill national tour. And so what was the process for for that join auditioning for the show? Because if I'm not mistaken, you were in college and then joined the tour, correct?
Yes, that would be correct. Yes, yes, yes. So I was very lucky. When I was a senior in high school, I was scouted by my talent agents and I signed with an agency within like a week of graduating high
Oh wow.
school. And I was doing some auditions once I had gone off to school. I went to Wichita State University in Kansas. And I did some auditions here and there, but school was really my top priority. And in spring of 22 was when I got my initial self tape request to go in for ensemble slash Frankie cover for the Jagged Little Pill National Tour. And I went in for I ended up getting a call back and I flew to New York, and that was my first time in the city, which was really strange and incredible and all the things together. My mom and I got to go together and we saw Wicked, of course, and we did all the New York things. But it was really truly like very, very fast. Like on a Thursday, I got the email and they were like, "Great, can you be here on Tuesday?" And it was super duper fast. And so I went in for my callback and I felt like it went well. And actually, it was about 2 or 3 months of a lot of back and forth between like my agents and the casting crew. It was a lot of, "Thank you so much for your time, but not this time." And then it was like, "Well, actually, you're back in the mix. We're reconsidering you again." "No, actually, no, not this time." "Well, now that we're looking at the tapes again, we think." It was a lot of that for a few months. And so, right before I started my fall semester, my sophomore year of college, they told me no. But it was a very firm not yet. And they were saying that, we're not going with you right now, but the track that you're covering, we think that we may need a replacement at some point down the road. We're hoping to run as long as we can. And we want you to know that you'll be one of, if not the first person that we call when we need that replacement. So I did virtually my entire sophomore year of college, hoping that they would call, but not knowing if anybody would call. And then finally around March of 23, yeah, February, March-ish of 23, they called back and were like, "Hey, are you still interested in doing this? We need somebody." And of course, duh.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me? And
yeah.
I talked to all of my professors and my friends, and I thought really long and hard about it, but they all were like, you have to.
Yeah.
Like, and the biggest thing for me and talking to my professors and with my family as well, because that was really important to me, was that like school would always be there, and that if I wanted to go back and finish, I absolutely could, but that this opportunity would never present itself in this way, and my body would never be able to perform at this caliber and be this specific typecast for very long. And so I should hop on the opportunity while it's there. And so finally, I got my offer in March of 23, and I had a month to move out of Wichita and meet them on tour. And so my first actual rehearsal joining the tour was almost exactly a year to the date from my initial
Mm.
callback, which was crazy. It was a really long
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, that's crazy, and it's such a crazy feeling, especially as a student in college, to leave and go on tour. And so, what are some of the things that you learned from being on the tour?
I learned so many things. I learned a lot about bravery in many aspects. I think being brave in making friends and not being afraid to try a new restaurant or go to a national park or try, we did a lot of exploring and things that we did not know about in cities that we had never been in, just because we wanted to experience the culture and the downtown life and the not downtown life. And so definitely bravery was a huge part of that. But I think really being on that tour was like taking a master class in acting every single day. Like the people that were on that stage, as you probably know, I was with Heidi Blickenstaff and Chris Hulk and Lauren Chanel, who's a good friend of mine, and working with them was so informative about how to do my job and how it is allowed to evolve and stay within a shape. And yeah, it was really spectacular. Those were the biggest things I learned, was to be brave and to listen.
Yeah, for sure, that's great. And so, this past summer, you were a part of Portrait Eight's musical theater's production of Titanic, in Chicago, which was the regional premiere, I'm pretty sure. And so, what was these? That was a process for to also be a non-replica. So, what was your process of joining that production?
Yeah, so that one was a little more straightforward than Jagged, not as chaotic. But it was really fall of, what was that? Oh, good grief. 24, fall of like
I think so.
24.
Yeah.
I had my initial audition, and then I got a call back, and it was a little wonky because I was in a different show at the time. I was doing The Little Mermaid at Drury Lane. And so I kind of had to balance those callbacks with that rehearsal process, which was a little chaotic. But it was pretty soon after that, really, in like November or so, that I had found out that they decided to go with me, and we began in the spring. And it was really cool to build it our own way, especially because our director, Ty Blue, he is one of the main three writers on the book, and so it was cool to have his perspective, but also to know that he was excited to try and take it a different way and have an all Chicago team, both on and off stage, was really important to Porchlight in order to maintain that vision and keep that like Chicago
Yeah.
authenticity. But it was really cool. I had never seen Titanic off Broadway. I had never seen it in any other
Yeah.
facet. I'd heard of it and seen some clips, like from the end of the show when they
Yeah.
asked you to record. I'd seen those types of things, but I really didn't know what to expect until I got to rehearsal and we did the first cold read. And I think we all sat back and were like, oh, like
Yeah.
this is going to be a ride. This is going to be a wild ride. And it was. We extended and ran 16 weeks. And, hearing people just love our show and love the Chicago version of it and being in love with both, versions of, what is up off Broadway and in Paris and Brazil and all over the world, really.
Yeah.
As well as being able to appreciate and love our version as well. It made it feel very personal.
Yeah, for sure. And Titanic is one of those shows that it's like better to go in like blind to and not know much so that you can be surprised.
Yes, that was what I really loved about going into it. I love to go into a show blind.
Oh yeah,
I
for sure.
really,
Yeah,
really
it's
do.
great.
It
I love doing
helps.
that. It's so much
Yeah,
fun.
because then you don't get caught up in like trying to imitate anybody or replicate anything. Like it really is what you want it to be from start to finish. Like,
And I imagine that also helps with this being a non-replica, with it being a non-replica production, not knowing what to expect kind of helps shaping your character as your own.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I was a background vocalist, and even in that way, we had very different costumes than
Yeah,
the other background vocalists, and theirs are fabulous. They really are. They're like the suits. I
yeah,
at first I was like, am I gonna be in a pantsuit? But then I got into the fitting, and Joss Fanks was our costumer, and he is spectacular as well. And it was really just exciting to see it come to life through his eyes. Like they were so excited to be putting
yeah,
this new twist on everything. And, from doing that to trying on all of my understudy costumes, because I covered two tracks, three, including myself. And so, figuring out what my version of those other costumes looked
yeah.
like was very fun as well.
And Porchlight themselves, like they are such a great company to do this show for. Like I've seen a couple shows with Porchlight, and they are just a great theater company, and they always have like broader quality productions.
Yeah, yeah, it's really great. What else have you seen at Porchlight?
Fun Home.
Oh,
Fun Home
Fun
was
Home.
such a beautiful show. Such a
Yeah.
beautiful show.
Chef's kiss. Those actors are spectacular.
And so moving on to your current production, you're currently starring in Dear Evan Hansen at Paramount as Elena.
Yes.
And so Paramount is known for doing amazing productions and non-replica productions. And so what is your way of making Alana, who is such a well-known character in the Dear Evan Hansen world, how are you planning on making this character your own?
I really think, again, I have never seen Dear Evan Hansen on stage,
Really?
nor have I seen the movie.
Oh,
And
wow.
a lot of our cast, not everyone, but a good chunk of our cast and our production is the same way. And they wanted it to be that way
Yeah.
because, they want it. They said, I want to sit down and I want to read the script, and how I see it in my brain is how I want to put it on the stage. That I don't want there to be like this pressure to have this specific trope or this
Yeah.
specific costume design or this specific set design. And I will say, without saying too much,
Yeah.
that our version of this show is very, very different.
And
It
yeah.
really, really is. And what's helping me kind of hone in, Alana, is to channel my like personal experiences with being a high schooler, and specifically being like a type A overachiever, sort of high schooler, because I was definitely like that big time. Um, Incorporating that, but also letting the other elements around me do a lot of the talking is really, really helpful. As you'll always hear your entire life, that acting is reacting. So seeing the different ways in which we are taking Evan and Zoe and Jared, and the staging of everything makes it feel entirely different. And one of the big things for me recently, because we just did our PR shoot, was putting all of the costumes together
Yeah.
and getting to see what we look like next to each other and how those clothes make us feel. And this costume design is something I've never seen for Alana
I'm so
ever.
excited. Yeah.
It's really, really fun, and it has this youthful joy and piece of life about it that I feel like sometimes can be missing when we get stuck, trying to box in certain characters as being, nerdy and type A and tunnel
Yeah.
vision. And, of course it's easy to put somebody in a striped t-shirt and glasses, or,
Yeah.
whatever it happens to be. It's easy to read that from the back row. But I love that that piece of Alana is meant to be my job to deliver as well. Like the clothes help really
Yeah.
shift her atmosphere a little bit. So that's been really exciting to play with as we continue to learn all of the elements around us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll actually be there on opening night for the show, so I'm so excited to see this production.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
I
I
love
hope you love it. I
yeah.
really
I
do. I
mean,
hope everyone loves it.
Paramount is such a good like company, and like the production's always like spot on. Like I love how they changed it and make it their own, like with when they did Circus Cats, so like the Come From Away that they recently did.
Yeah.
Like those are both
Yeah, yeah. And
phenomenal.
we have the same choreographer that was on Cats is on
Oh,
this as well. And
awesome.
she yeah, and Casey Alfonso Fabian, she's amazing. And she was the choreographer for Titanic as well, coincidentally.
Oh,
Um you know, they Paramount, I feel really special to be working at Paramount. This is my first time at
Yeah.
Paramount. I've only been in Chicago for about a year and a half, as I was saying. And it's been a dream so far. We're only a week and a half in, and the people are so nice, and the theater is beautiful, and the cast is so perfectly like put together. Like everything just feels like right in the world. It's
Yeah.
an amazing way to ring in the new year and stuff.
For sure. And so you mentioned that you had never seen a production or the movie of Dear Evan Hansen prior. And so what was your reaction at the first table read after getting through the production and realizing what this show was going to be like?
Um, I think my biggest takeaway from the table read was like just feeling so starstruck
Yeah.
from all of the people around me. Like it just hearing like the voices and like the cadences of speech, like how much everyone had thought about their characters and beginning to understand how they would intertwine with one another was so cool. Like I think again, similar to after that first cold read of Titanic, like this after that first read of Dear Evan Hansen, it was like, oh, like I could already tell that it
Yeah.
was going to be really special because prior to reading it, they had done the whole spiel and told us what the set design was going to be like, and we had all talked about what everyone's costume design. So we had all of the elements in mind when we did the first read through, and like thinking about all of the creative and cool ways that we could and would use all of those elements was really um, exciting to say the least, really. I actually tried not to read most of the script before I got there. I
Really?
read all of my scenes, of course,
Yeah.
but also that I think is very helpful to building a character is by reading only or doing at least one read through of just the scenes that you're in to sort of understand the arc of your character and specifically the arc of it that the audience will see, because sometimes as actors, you come up with a whole backstory, and I think that's so important in terms of like helping you ground your character and build that character from the ground up and making it personal to you. And so of course I did all of that reading, but
Yeah.
there were so many other dynamics, like family dynamics, friendship dynamics that were new to me upon the cold read. And it just excitement, pure excitement, really.
Yeah, for sure. And like Alana is one of those characters that like you don't know much about until later on in the show. And so I
Yeah.
think giving those character aspects to it really helps, especially with a character like Alana or like Jared, where they only come in pivotal moments, but it's also they're such a pivotal character to the show.
Yeah. I think they both add weight and with Jared and Alana specifically, have the ability to both add comedy as well,
Yeah.
which is something that's been super fun to play with and figure out where it does and doesn't work. And something that my director and I, we were just talking about this probably yesterday, was that most of Alana's scenes in the first act are all online scenes. And so she's not talking to anyone. And so I was saying that, like, it's as we hadn't touched Act Two yet, I was finding it a little difficult to really find my foot in on his shoes. Acting with anybody. It's just like there's dialogue, and then
Yeah.
like Alana's over here, like online as an avatar, and then there's dialogue, and then
Yeah.
Alana's back over here, like kind of on her own. Um, and so, but we started Act Two this week,
Oh,
and
awesome.
so getting to start to play with that stuff and play with the vocals, like "Good for You" and
Yeah.
all that good stuff, has been really fun to continue to like create that arc.
Yeah, for sure. And like, obviously, without giving any spoilers, like Alana is uh, such a unique character because she goes on a fully emotional journey that's completely different than, say, like Evan. But they both go
Yeah.
on different emotional journeys, but end up in similar spots at the end.
Right,
And like,
exactly.
I think they're written so special that it gives them their own special tracks to where they both end up in the end in the similar spots.
Right. And that's being explored too in the blocking as well.
Yeah,
As we've started to discover some of the Act Two blocking in the last few days, is that like wanting to mimic scenes or parallel scenes from the beginning of the show so that, Evan begins to see himself in these people who thought were kind of his friends but weren't his friends, but really, what is that to them, and what does that mean, and what do you not know about everyone? You get to know Evan's emotions a lot. You get into Zoe's, and you know Heidi has a big song, and everybody has really a moment to like sit and like hone in their emotions, really, except for Alana and Jared.
Yeah.
And they're also the only two that, we don't ever meet their parents. We
Yeah.
don't know how, I mean, at least for Alana, like, we don't know how or why she met either Jared or Evan. Does she
Yeah.
even know who Zoe is? Technically in the script, like, we don't talk about her parents, her upbringing, why she is the way that she is. And
Yeah.
so being able to explore that has been really interesting. And like you said, like being able to draw the parallels between the characters and really just kind of help drive home that point that like we're all struggling with something and we can all relate to something, and it's really important to like lean on one another when you're going through that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And so, to move on, what advice would you give to your younger self?
To take a deep breath, to take several deep breaths, even. I was so similar to Alana. I was just so high strung and nervous and anxious. And I think deep down, I always knew like things will work out, things will be exactly what they need to be when they need to be it. Um, but I was just so nervous and so scared all the time to go for big, big opportunities or to audition for solos. Like I never ever thought that I was enough. I wouldn't go to a big school because I was convinced I wouldn't be let in, and like lots of those things that I would have loved to sit younger me down and be like, just take a deep breath. Like
Yeah.
nothing is that deep. We're on a floating rock and you sing and dance for money, and that's okay. And that's
Yeah.
fun, and that's the beauty of it. It's allowed to be both therapeutic and cathartic for you, but it's also allowed to be escapism for you and the audience. And it can be whatever you want it to be. I am a firm believer that there is a spot for everyone in or around theater, whether you like to be on the stage, whether you like to design lights or direct or a music direct, or you just love theater, but you feel that you don't have the talent and you want to help market theaters, or you want to be a company manager. Like there is still a place for most everyone
Yeah.
in the theater setting, and I wish that I really understood that as a youngin, and that I didn't,
Yeah.
to know that I didn't have to be this cookie cutter version of what I thought a musical theater girl had to be, what I thought a professional musical theater actress had to be, and that I could just be my own version of it.
Yeah, for sure. And so this next question kind of ties into the last one, but what advice would you give to younger performers who want to pursue acting as a career?
I would say to definitely be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself, and comparison will always be the thief of joy. Nobody's path is linear and nobody's path matches. Sometimes it can be helpful to see, okay, where did Sutton Foster go to school? Where did Audra McDonald go to school? Where, when did so and so, okay, so if she was on Broadway by this age, then I should be like, it's easy to do those things, but also it's not feasible. There's a reason that you are not Audra McDonald. It's
Yeah.
because, but there's also a reason, I'm Elaine Watson and nobody else is Elaine Watson. And that's great. And like, let being different and let not being like them be your strength. And to be patient with yourself, and find who you want to be and give yourself room to mess up within that. Sometimes you make a choice and it's the wrong one,
Yeah.
or it's not the wrong one, but it could be better. Like it's okay. That's what life is for.
Yeah.
You live and you learn, and you move on. And that's the beauty of especially a career like this, is it's so flexible. And it can be what you want it to be. And there's so many doors that open when you just be yourself, and when you speak up for yourself, and when you listen and learn as much as you possibly can from your peers, pick up random skills, like whatever it is, like just do things, like live your life and let your story outside of your work be important and integral with the work that you're doing on stage or wanting to do on stage.
Yeah, for sure. That's great advice. And so that actually wraps up the interview today. I'd like to thank you for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. This was fun.